Okay, so last video I showed you guys how to do even count flat peyote stitch using size 11 delicas. And in the project I taught you how to do a diagonal pattern. Well, this week I'm going to teach you how to do a 2-drop peyote stitch. Now the particular bracelet that I'm going to teach you how to make uses size 11 delicas and size 8 delicas. Now, the particular one I'm teaching you is actually called a basket weave bracelet because of the way it looks. It's like you're weaving a basket together. For those of you who don't know the difference between a delica and a regular seed bead, is that a delica has a perfect cylinder shape. So it makes it really nice and even when you work. And all I'm doing is I have my needle threaded with about 3 yards of 6 or 8 pound fire line. It's completely up to you guys which size you like to use. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by picking up one size 11 delica. And I'm going to slide it. And I want to make sure as I slide it that I leave myself a 6 to 8 inch tail to finish off my project. And from the tail, I'm going to come up through that one bead. Now what this does is this will make a little piece of thread around it, as you can see my little loop there, so that when I pull I now have one bead on there. That's called my stop bead. Now this bead will also be considered bead number 1 because when I get finished I can pull that little thread right there off and work like it was never there. So that's 1, and I'm going to pick up 11 more beads for a total of 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And you want to pull them all the way down. And when you pull them down, you'll want to make sure you have your 12 beads. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Okay, I'm going to pick up one size 8 delica. Now, this is my tail side, this is my working thread. So I'm working back towards my tail. So I've got one large delica. I'm going to skip one pair of size 11. So I'm just going to skip 2. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the next 2. And I'm going to pull. Now, I like to hold my beads in place so that way everything's not going everywhere. So now that you have it pulled, make sure that your small delicas are under the large delica, and it will look as so. Then I'm going to pick up a large delica. I'm going to skip the next 2 on my row, and then I'll take my needle and go back through the next 2. And I'm going to hold it in place so that when I pull, my large delica is like so. And I'm going to do it one more time. Pick up a size 8 delica, skip the next 2, and then my needle will go through the very first 2 beads, delicas that I threaded on in the base. And you'll want to make sure to pull everything good and tight. So that's what we have now. We have a grouping of 3 large delicas, and then we have the smaller ones. Now, when I get ready to do this next one, this next row, I'm going to pick up 2 size 11s, and I'm going to go through my size 8 delica. That first one right there at the top. Okay, I'm going to pick up 2 size 11 delicas. I'm going to come through the next size 8 delica. I'm going to pick up 2 11s and then come through the next 8. Okay, just like so. Okay, I'm going to pick up, ready to start my next row now. So I'm going to pick up 2 beads. I'm going to skip my delica, my big delica here, and I'm going to go through the next set of delicas. And this is a little trickier part because you have to be able to grab a hold of it there and wiggle it in its where it needs to be. And you want to make sure that the 2 delicas you just added kind of stays down in there. And I'll do the same thing, 2 delicas, skip my big one and go through my next 2 small ones here. And then 2 delicas, skip my 8 and go through my next 2 small ones. Okay, just like that. Now, at this point, I'm just going to repeat my pattern. So I'm going to pick up a size 8 delica and come through the 2 small delicas there at the top. Pick up a size 8, come through my next 2 seed beads sticking up. Make sure that it pops into place there. And then pick up a size 8 and come through my last set. Now what I'm doing is I'm making sure that every set of size 11 delicas has a set above it. Okay, so you'll have 2 sets of size 11, so that's why you'll kind of know how to do it as you go through. So I'm going to pick up 2 size 11s and go through my size 8. And each time, you can see I'm just working back towards the other side. Pick up 2 size 11s, go through the next 8. 2 size 11s, and then go through the last 8. Now once I'm to the end of the row there, I'm going to pick up 2 11s. I'm going to skip the 8 there, and I'm going to come through the 2 11s in the middle. Then pick up 2 11s, skip my size 8, and come back through the next 2 11s. And then 2 11s, skip the 8, and come through the next 2 11s. So now at this point, I'm ready to start adding my size 8 delicas again. And I'm just going to repeat this whole pattern for the length of the bracelet that I need.